Hi, I'm Dr. Courtney, Jesus Professor, and in this episode of Street Preacher Sins, we're talking about an overly political focus. Now, exercising one's rights and duties as a citizen, including staying abreast of news, voting, and using one's free speech to support political positions and candidates, is not a sin. Followers of Jesus have liberty in how we fulfill our rights and duties as citizens. The issue becomes a sin when those called to one specific ministry end up neglecting or bringing reproach to their calling by too much emphasis in areas separate from our calling. The call to be a street preacher is primarily an evangelistic calling, not a political one. Few followers of Jesus are called to high levels of government effort. Many Christians in the United States neglect true callings closer to the Great Commission while chasing fleshly fantasies of power and influence through politics, or the sinful error of thinking politics has more power to bring change than the gospel. If you are called to be a street preacher, how much time, effort, and resources did you take away from your core calling of evangelism to discuss or debate political issues and candidates in the most recent political season? Did you risk bringing reproach on the gospel and your ministry by regular mention of political issues and candidates while preaching, or in the same venues that you most commonly use for evangelism? If your ministry is a 501c3, did you violate the law by supporting candidates or political issues in a ministry context? Street preachers need to focus on making disciples for Jesus, not for any political party or candidate. Do other ministries see your public messaging as mixed between the call to follow Jesus and the call to support specific political candidates and positions? Are unbelievers and seekers confused about whether following Jesus means voting for the same political party or the same candidates that you support? We must remember Paul's admonishment to Timothy. No one serving as a soldier gets entangled in civilian affairs, but rather tries to please his commanding officer. So, how can we see if our interest in politics represents a calling or an entanglement? First, look back at this recent political season and do some math. In the 2 months before the election, did more than 10% of your videos or outings to preach have a strong political focus? Or were your preaching outings or other evangelistic efforts reduced by 10% or more compared with periods of reduced political interest? If so, I'm not saying it's necessarily a sin, but you do need to examine your priorities more closely. One essential element in seeing whether or not our priorities are out of balance with our calling is input from other brothers in the broader community. What do other street preachers and evangelists think of your level of involvement and emphasis on political issues, especially as they are visible in or taking you away from more direct evangelical efforts? Finally, let me mention that my wife and I paused our generous ministry giving, which is focused on street preachers. We paused that giving to ministries that explicitly supported voting for or against any specific candidate during the election season. We maintained our giving levels, but we shifted to ministries with a clearer focus on evangelism rather than politics, and we waited until Well, after the election season, to resume giving to ministries that explicitly supported voting for or against a specific candidate in their ministry contexts and venues. Well, praise the Lord Jesus, who can help us to focus on our great and high calling of the Great Commission. And we depend on Jesus, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, to solve things for us and to provide for us that hope and that future rather than American politics.
The good life is the land where the big grapes grow, milk and honey flow from the morning till the night, and everybody's singing to Jesus. Yeah, the good life is the land where the big grapes grow, milk and honey flow from the morning till the night, and everybody's singing to Jesus. Oh,